Yeah, so VR is continuing to be a thing. It's getting more and more real every time they announce a new price point, like they just did for the HTC Vive, which is going to be coming out in early April for $800.
When it's really more than $800 because it's also the price of whatever gaming rig you have.
Sure. So,
the price wars have.
Yes. But that's compared to Oculus, which is coming out March 28th. That's going to be $600 and obviously also requires a gaming rig. I believe they said, you're probably not going to get much out of it unless you're got like a $1,000 rig, something like that.
Yeah, like minimum,
Yeah.
So
that's an investment, and we still haven't heard from Sony.
No, but then just earlier today, we got the invite for a PSVR presentation/hands-on demo event that's being held during GDC here in San Francisco on March 15th. GDC is the Game Developers Conference, which is a week long in San Francisco, and it's where we go see panels and we play demos. And
it's also a place where Sony regularly will unveil new hardware.
Yeah.
I think Project Morpheus was announced at GDC.
Yeah, a couple years back.
But I mean, they'd show off the PS4 controller or the Vita for the first time behind glass. At this point, it's kind of weird because we've seen PSVR plenty. We know what it looks like. But price point?
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, we've called this at like the last 5 events, but I really feel like this is the one. I mean,
we've Babe Ruthed it incorrectly like 6 times.
Yeah.
Well, now that like these guys got out
I think
early,
they were waiting. I really do think they were waiting for Oculus and Vive because like we've talked about this a million times, like these are plus 1,000 minimum.
Yeah.
So it's like, and if you already have the gaming PC, it's like you already spent that money, obviously. But like for PSVR, it's like it's plus 400 basically. So it's like a PSVR being even $400 plus a system, you can get every single thing you need for the price of just the Vive headset, not counting whatever else you need.
Yeah.
And Vive is a really interesting case because Vive is, I mean, you can use it, I think, like you can use an Oculus where it's just a headset, but you also need like these base stations and you have like a room that needs to be prepared for
they
like,
come
that
with the
full
$800.
experience.
Yeah.
That's all included in it, but I'm just saying like you also need space for it, whereas like theoretically, as far as we know, PSVR, you're going to need, there's the PS4, there's like the processing box and then the headset.
So yeah, at 2 p.m. on the 15th, there's going to be a presentation. It's not going to be live streamed, but we will be there and we'll be using it. And yeah, I mean, I've thought at 5 different events in the last 6 months, I think this is really the time where they're going to announce price and date.
What do you guys think the price is going to be?
I think we've said $400 before. I think that's sort of where I'm landed on.
Yeah.
I think maximum 400 because, I really think they're going to sell this thing at cost or even take a loss because they don't want it to be more expensive than the console itself.
Exactly.
I can't imagine it being 600 and then a PS4 is 400.
Just on the basic of like explaining that to somebody, if you're like, Mom, I want to get this thing, or like,
I think it will absolutely be bundled with something exclusive as well. So I'd say $399 probably with a No Man's Sky type of bundle situation, or something else like it.
Rigs.
So Sony's said,
Rigs said, first party game.
Yeah.
What did they say? Q2, or they said the first half of 2016, whatever their sort of
the first half of 2016.
Yeah, and so that would be until the end of June. But then just at the CEO of someone from GameStop said fall 2016, which like, I mean,
Sony said that he was speculating.
True.
I mean, I think even if he was, I think he probably wasn't. But let's play their game and say he was speculating. Like, I would imagine his point is that by the fall, this thing will be out.
Yeah,
Whether it's earlier, like, I can't imagine rolling into Christmas 2016 without PSVR being in people's hands.
Totally.
The big advantage they have about if they were to release it around E3 or whatever, I mean, they could do one of those like hat trick things where they're like, it's available now or whatever.
Yes, and they could show, like, not only could they be like, hey, here's X amount of games that you can get for it right now, but then also our press conference will be dedicated to here's 3 first-party games that are coming, this fall or next year.
And then, of course, that gives it time to kind of build up hype and reach mainstream people, and you can put kiosks in stores and like.
And also, like, Oculus is launching with like there's cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think like Adrift and all those games
Edge
that
of
are
Nowhere. Yeah.
Even like what is it, Lucky's Tale or whatever.
Yep.
Like, there are games that are like interesting on Oculus, and then plenty of interesting things on Vive. But I don't think they're quite that like tear down the walls and get mainstream in games. Whereas I feel like Sony does have that catalog. Like, if they do any major franchise attached to this, like whether it's they've already announced Gran Turismo, but whether it's God of War or whatever else, like if those things come out with this, like they just have, between that and the 40 million people who are going to have PS4s by this fall, like I think they have this like really easy entryway into like mainstream appeal, or at least depending on price. Like they could screw it up, we don't know, but I think they have the easiest path to making VR like a cool mainstream thing, even if they have the lower fidelity kind of cheaper manufacturer headset.
That's not going to matter,
Yeah, there's still also going to be the Samsung VR
Yeah, the gear. Yeah.
And the Google Cardboard stuff.
And those are the things you literally use your phone. Like you can do that right now with
Yeah.
a piece of cardboard. And like those are the kind of the lower fidelity like indie projects where it's like you don't need to spend 400, 800, 600, whatever on those. You can play those right now. And I think that's like a whole different argument.
So I think their connection to games is obviously stronger than anybody else has. They also have the phone with hundreds of third parties' phone numbers in it. It's not just one; it's like a whole bunch of phones.
Yeah,
but they
it's like
have
an
one
old-timey
giant red
Rolodex.
phone.
I think they have Sony has a better way of calling up third parties and being like, make something cool for us, help this happen. As you've seen this generation.
I mean, don't underestimate Facebook and Valve. Like that's the thing. Like the people backing these other and so this is like nothing to do with this, but like at Sundance this year, there were these bidding wars that like haven't been seen in almost a decade, like since like the '90s when like things were big, so more than that. And it's because like suddenly Hulu and Netflix and Amazon are participating in these things that are traditionally like the big studios, and I think Facebook, if they want to lean into this, and who knows if they will, but like if they wanted to, like they could be a really like non-traditional source of like we have a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like let's put it into like all of these projects.
Well, so that's exactly it. All of the projects, right? Like everything you named, Hulu, Netflix, all that stuff. Like what's the one thing that's common about those things? They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're on every device.
Yeah.
There are no and correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no like Facebook exclusive Facebook browsing devices. Like Facebook works everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that if Facebook is integrating in some way with Oculus, they want to integrate in some way with all VR, and they want to be
That's why
everywhere.
they partner with Microsoft.
Right. Whereas Sony VR is only going to have PlayStation. It's going to be the only place to play their experience.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
but-
a Sony first-party developed VR game is not most likely not going to be available on
course.
Oculus.
On
or
Oculus,
Vive.
whereas I think Facebook will work on.
But
on
think
Sony
about
VR.
like Rise of the Tomb Raider or whatever, like these third-party deals, right? Like because every Oculus comes with an Xbox One controller and they
Yeah.
partner with Microsoft. All I'm saying is like, yeah, first-party stuff, of course, is only going to live on Sony. But for third-party stuff, like they have the money to put down if they want to
Totally.
get those to have a version of Battlefront that's only on Oculus and
Totally.
it's not on PSVR, like stuff like that.
Sony's had a really kind of weird track record with proprietary stuff. I mean, look at like Vita memory cards, and
Yeah.
then look at I don't know, like it was them and Philips who partnered to make CDs. Like
Yeah.
CDs worked out pretty well, and it's kind of
They even had mini discs.
Minidisc, Memory Stick Duo. Like
Yep.
they've basically they've been kind of hit or miss along the way. I think
Yep.
Blu-ray was co-developed by them and like a few other
Mm-hmm.
big companies. But like sometimes that backfires and sometimes it works out really well. I think this is one of those instances where it's more beneficial. Like I think the VR platform as like if you've already got an install base of PS4s of 40 million, whatever the hell it is, and you're introducing a new piece of technology that is like if you own one of these things that you maybe already own, you probably already own, and you want to buy something new and stupid this holiday season, like here's something new and stupid that's very new,
Sure.
very stupid. Whereas I feel like with with Oculus and HTC, you're looking at the same problem you have with the rest of PC gaming. And please don't get mad at me. I'm not trying to say
Put down the
anything bad.
knife.
You have so many different possible combinations of hardware to make a PC
Yeah.
that you are dealing with. There's no exact science there. Unless they have, like, here is a spec list of parts and stuff that should be combined to make an Oculus box.
Well, it's exactly why, we have a bunch of Steam boxes in the office now. And I got really excited because I'm like, this is going to be the year where I finally, and I've always dabbled in PC gaming, but I was like, this is the year where I'm going to get into it. And I went over to our reviews editor, Dan Stapleton, who's also like our biggest old school PC guy. Like he used to run GameSpy and all this other stuff like that. And I'm like, so I want to buy one of these things. And he was like, well, this one only runs Linux. So if you get it, you have to install Windows. And I'm like, what? Oh, buy. And I know that you're listening to this and going, well, that's incredibly easy. And I'm sure it is. And I know it is. But it's just a thing I don't want to have to deal with. So if I can get to whatever I need to get to by buying one more thing and it just works. Like I think about the way when I bought my surround sound headset for my PS4 and I plugged in a dongle and I turned it on, I was like, wow,
And you're
my
done.
games sound great.
Exactly.
Ding.
Yeah, that's really all it is.
But-
And it's you've got that, like, also worth pointing out, Oculus or Facebook and Steam or Valve neither have experience with hardware, with doing their own hardware.
And more importantly, with
HTC
retail,
does, but
like the bigger thing, honestly, like
But what about the
aside-
Steam controller?
But seriously, dude, like aside from plugging it in and having it be easy and having it work with your hardware, it's just literally like Sony already has shelf space at GameStop, at Walmart, at Target, at every store you go into. Sony can dedicate whatever the hell they want to being PSVR this fall.
What's the most amount of money everyone in this room has given to the HTC company in their lives?
I had a
Right.
HTC
So
mobile,
there it is.
mobile phone.
Okay.
Was that I went to the doctor once and I got penicillin for my HTC.
I don't. That's a health tech. I don't even know what that
Health
means.
Tech Corporation. That actually sounds like an insurance company.
No, I know a lot of people have HTC phones, but like they are not really a household name in
and
the same way.
especially not in the electronics department of most major retailers. And I think like even if Oculus is like a million times better, let's say PSVR makes everybody sick and it's a mess or whatever, which I don't think will happen. But if that does happen, like Oculus still has an uphill battle just to be in stores in front of people, like
Right.
and
and also having a terrifying nightmare dystopian name.
Yeah, and like Sony can publish like, hey, you get a PS4 with a PSVR for $750 or whatever it is, and that's their big holiday push. Whereas Oculus, like, it's a lot harder to be like, oh, like walk into your Walmart and go to the PC aisle and grab this thing, and then come grab the Oculus
Also,
and the touch controllers. And
if you're listening to the show, you're already kind of in the know, so you're exempt from this next statement. But gamers mostly don't really care about what the best looking thing is. Most people mostly don't really care. Like historically in the console wars, and this is the first time we've ever actually seen it differently, but the not best looking game system
consoles
sells the
wouldn't
best.
exist if that wasn't the case, because
Yes.
PCs are always going to look better.
Yeah,
and
they're
run
always
better.
gonna
Like,
look better.
Every gaming PC is
You're
better
so
than
right.
a console, but the only reason consoles have been viable is because you can go buy them for $600 and you get everything you need,
Yeah.
even if they're brand new.
Now, like PS4 this time around arguably has the best graphics of the consoles, but the best-selling console last generation was the Wii.
Yeah.
And before that, it was the PS2, which were both like crucially underperforming compared to their competition. And gamers didn't care because it's the console with the best library. And right now, I'd say the PS4 has the best library. And during the PS2 era, it did. During the
Wii
Wii
did not.
era, it did not.
That was a momentary lapse in judgment from America as a whole.
We screwed up. We just really missed bowling. I don't know what happened back then.
We just
We're
want to spend
over
more
it.
time with our grandmas.
Well,
Yeah, when, like, they don't stay around long. You gotta bowl with them while
So
you can.
the Wii comparison is interesting because that's like the whole pick up the plastic things and wave them around with your hands, and it does the thing on the TV with little weird
Yes.
Eggman. Like that's one of those things you can show to your grandma or grandpa, and they'll be like, "Wow, that's crazy."
Yep.
Show them a hat you put on, and it shows you Dinosaur World.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot different. And if you're like, "How do I get that?" Well, you're like, "Well, it's this much money." Like, I mean, my dad has friends who have like 3D TVs.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Like, I didn't know anybody had those, you know?
Yeah.
But there's that weird kind of section of, I think dad tech is a term that Anthony Carboni coined, which
Yep.
is like a very specific thing. And I think the Morpheus is like, it's, I don't know, like the fact that it's like you buy this thing and then you plug it together and it does the thing, whereas you're not going on this whole rabbit hole of like other technology.
Yeah.
Of course, flip side of that is Mattel is also doing VR headsets with the Viewfinder,
Yeah.
which is
Viewmaster?
hilarious. Viewmaster.
Yeah,
that's it.
we have one.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that
Yeah,
in.
one in the office.
Which
yeah.
is adorable because it's just like put your phone in there, put your like Kindle Fire phone, whatever, plop it in there, and you
Now, if
we
you
have that with a demo called Space.
if you really want to figure out which of these systems won't survive, that's when you talk to dads, because dads historically buy the one that fails. Dads are
I
like,
think HD DVD.
yeah, dads are the HD DVD laser disc guys, and they just have a wall of them. They're like, it's coming back anytime now. Like I've had friends whose parents they have like this thing in their basement they just won't get rid of, and they're just like, well, you don't understand. Like I put a lot of money in this, and it's still the best quality ever. And you're like, you made a bad bet. Like you just bet on the wrong horse, and that's okay. But like, stop being a dad and being so stubborn and throw
what's
it out.
What's funny is in my basement I have your old surround sound system.
Yeah, yeah.
That was your
Jason
father
gave it
period.
to me. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You're a good dad.
Thanks.